Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Julie Chan Show, where passion meets purpose. Today, we have three wonderful podcasters. They are doing good in the world with their voices and with bringing important conversations to the forefront. So happy to be with them and to let you get to know these awesome podcasters. I know podcasting is a thing of today, and everyone's listening to them, whether we're doing laundry or driving to our destination. But
walking, cooking.
What'd you say?
Walking, cooking, whatever you're doing.
That's right. That's right. We are going to start this morning's show with Neena Perez. We're going to have her come on right now. Neena, so good to be with you today.
So good to be here. How are you, Julie?
So good. Thank you. You and I were together recently on your show. Thank you for having me there.
It was a pleasure.
I just love your podcast name. Straight talk, no sugar added.
Yeah,
how did you decide on this name?
Actually, that's who I am, right? So I'm a straight talker. You know, everybody's always like, why are you such a straight talker? And it's like, I just don't add any sugar to it. And that's how that all came about. I'm just somebody who likes to just get to the facts, get to the point. I don't like to sugarcoat and make things all, long and fluffy. So that's just who I am.
Just be honest. Just get right to it and don't skirt around the issues, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, to me, truth is everything, right? So to me, it's like truth and its foundation, it's facts. That's how I live my life.
So. Yeah. So what have been some of your favorite interviews?
Oh, you kidding? That's a hard question. They're all amazing. But Justin Schenck, who's going to be on here in just a few minutes, is freaking awesome. And he has like this whole philosophy of the pillars of life and how he teaches that. So he is fantastic and somebody I listen to almost daily. So I've had a lot of really great, thought leaders, coaches, people who really love what they do and they do it with passion and they've been through something and they're using that to then impact the lives of others. I mean, me and you even talked about how you're using your wherewithal and everything that you do to bring up authors, right? And what they're doing in their life. So I've had so many impactful conversations with so many people that, this has just been a dream come true. I love podcasting.
Did you always imagine that you would be a podcaster and hosting your own show?
I always said when I was a child that I wanted to be on TV and I wanted to be a chef. So I am a chef and now I am kind of on TV. So I guess the answer is yes. I have another show that's called Memoirs of a Fat Girl, which is my health journey. So I do recipes on there and I bring leaders on there that are in the health space. So yeah, I think I am doing what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Sure. And you are creating from a place of your passion and your heart. Sounds like for connecting with others and sharing your story and how others might be going through some of the same struggles, right? Especially regarding eating issues and getting those pounds off. That's what we're all striving for, I think.
Yeah.
Have you ever met somebody that said, I'm my perfect weight? I love it so much.
I haven't. Definitely hasn't been me saying that for sure. Right. But I also took my life story. I've been through a lot of challenges, a lot of struggles, survivor of like domestic violence and all these big issues. So I wanted to bring people on that would help my audience get unstuck, just so that they know that there is a way forward. There is a tomorrow and the darkness right now doesn't have to feel so dark. You're not the only one going through it. We are here with you. We are here to support you and connect you. So these big thought leaders come on my show, not to talk mostly about their business, but more about what they've been through, how they overcame that, and now where they are. And that's what I love to do.
And you've gone through a lot of struggle yourself, as you say. How did you know, to let go of all that and to pursue your passion? Because that's hard to come from the stuck place and the hurt and all that you've been through and move on. And I think lots of people are there, especially right now.
Yeah. Well, action causes forward movement, right? So for me, it was taking a little step at a time. And when I wrote my book, which is called Hit Me With Your Best Shot, that actually really opened me up to realize that I had to let things go in my life in order to move forward. And that's what I'm helping people with now, because I'm also becoming an NLP practitioner and a coach. And so I'm helping people now break through that so that they can move forward as well. So the show with what I'm doing is going to be all combined. And, you just have to have some sort of action in your life. I don't care if it's just getting up in the morning and trying to find 3 things you're grateful for. That'll start to move you forward. And so that's what I try to, teach and preach, so
Yes.
action just makes you go forward. You'll get there.
Yeah. And writing a book, because I interview book authors, and I'm really learning that it's when you're writing a book that you open up, and it's like journaling, right?
Yeah.
And so it's this meditative state. It moves you forward. It gets you out of all of your victim stories.
Yeah.
Puts them on paper and lets them go. Is that the journey you found?
Yeah, because mine is an autobiography, right? So it is a nonfiction. So it's a real story. And yes, you're right. It was very cathartic. I cried a lot because I had to bring up a lot of horrible memories. But I also realized that I'm a badass. I realized that I've been through some stuff, but I've gotten through some stuff. And I always say through is the magic word there, because that's movement, right? That's moving forward and through something. So the book was very cathartic and actually has impacted other people's lives, which is the goal, right? The goal is, if the book can impact one life, because I'm always talking about the audience of one. So if it got that one person, I'm good. I did my job.
Right. And I love the title of that. Hit me with your best shot.
Right.
Roxette, right?
What's that? Yes. Yes.
I love Roxette. That's great. Great. We'll be back with you in just a minute. We are going on to Justin Schenck, your good friend.
Love Justin.
Hey.
Hello, Justin.
Hello, Nina. Thank you for the shout out. That was so kind to say that I'm your favorite guest. That's a lot of pressure now. Like somebody says, hey, Justin was my favorite guest. And now I'm a guest with you, Julie. But I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. I love your background. Tell us about your background tiles first.
Yeah. So it's just a collection of the guests that I've had on the show. I had this idea, and it's funny. It started with like 6 squares, and it was just this tiny little square behind my head. Now it almost fills the wall. But I've been podcasting for 5.5 years. So 380 plus episodes, and I've been able to interview some of the most incredible people in the world. And I was like, how do I showcase that? How do I show people like I have the honor to truly interview some of the greatest people that are making massive impacts in the world? And I was like, let's make a wall of fame. And so I decided to kind of throw it up there. And it's been a great opportunity for me to network and connect and grow. Every conversation I have, somebody brings it up. And so it's a ton of fun.
Growth Now Movement is your podcast. How did you come up with that name, and what inspired it?
It's actually kind of a long story that I'll try and condense down for you. About 12 years ago at this point, I owned a company where I put together seminars and expos that focus on personal and professional growth. And we called them Growth Now Seminars and Growth Now Expos. And so when I wanted to podcast, which was an idea about 6 years ago, I was like, I kind of like the idea of growth now. I like this whole entire idea of constantly growing, constantly improving ourselves, constantly striving for the next thing. And I was like, let's just name it the Growth Now Movement. At first it was the Growth Now Podcast. And then I was like, no, like that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't like telling people it's a podcast. It's redundant at that point. And 5.5 years ago, if we were being honest, I would tell people I had a podcast and they would go, what's a podcast? And now it's like, you have a podcast too, right? Because everybody has one now.
Right.
But we dropped the podcast name and we put movement on the end. And I say we because I used to have a co-host with the podcast for the first 52 episodes. But it's been just solely me, and everything that's grown from it has been me since then.
And movement. I mean, I can only imagine, because you want to move the entire world to this mindset, right?
I'll share this with you. When I started podcasting, it was to interview entrepreneurs and pick their brain because at this point I had 3 failed businesses under my belt. And I was like, let me just create a show where I have the opportunity to ask the right questions from the experts. And 5 months before I released the podcast, my mom ended up losing a 20-year battle to opioids. And the show became so much more, and it became about overcoming adversity. It became about understanding how we can enjoy this moment in our life, no matter how badly our life is in that second or that moment or whatever. And that's really why I believe the show took off, because it became real. It became about a purpose. It became passion driven, as you say. And it's really become a great thing. And the movement, it was always in the title, but the movement accidentally happened. And now the show is going on. It gets played in 100 countries every single week, over a couple million downloads. And it's truly created an incredible opportunity for me to do amazing things.
That's really, really wonderful. And I love that you highlight that it was through something so tragic happening that your real passion and your purpose grew so big, and it overcame you, and it took over the show because you became so clear on what you wanted to do and what mattered in the world to you, and that voice, right, of like overcoming such hardship and so much pain that you watched for 20 years.
Yeah, I think a rock bottom moment for most people is the catalyst for their greatness. The part that a lot of people miss is that we choose when our rock bottom moment is, right? Like I had a choice at that moment to go down the path of alcohol and potentially drugs, or go down the path of how do I improve my life? Because I wasn't living the life I wanted to live in that moment. And I made the better choice. And I said, this is my rock bottom moment. I'm going to learn from it and hopefully teach some people along the way. And that's the thing that we have to realize, is that we choose when that rock bottom moment happens. And then that's the jumping off point to our messaging, to our purpose, to our greatness, as we move forward. And that's kind of what happened in my life. And I've had over 380 conversations that say the same thing. And I coach people to do the same thing. And it's really this amazing equation that I found out, that like people kind of feel bad for themselves in their rock bottom moment, but that's your opportunity for greatness.
Right. And you got to keep moving, right? As Neena says, you have to just move and let it be, but go on. Don't just sit still, or you become stagnant and wallow in your sorrows. Find your passion.
Yeah, that's it. And you hit it on the head, right? And so many people are going to be like, well, Justin, it's easy for you to say that now because you have this podcast that does so well, and you host live events, and you coach other people and all these things. But the reality is, like, I had to get uncomfortable at some point, right? And that was saying, yes, I'm going to put this podcast out into the world. But there was still those limiting beliefs of like, who am I? Like, who am I to have these conversations? Who am I to do these things, right? So I had to get uncomfortable and do it. And then I had to surround myself with the right people. And then I took action. And those 3 steps alone will literally create greatness in anything that you want to do. Like if you're worried about, or you say to yourself, I've never been in shape before, right? Cool. Let's get uncomfortable. Let's set a plan for ourselves to go get active, surround ourselves with the right people who's cheering you on, and then take action, go out and actually do it. And really those 3 simple steps are going to really create the life that you want in any way, shape or form, whether it's relationships, your health, spirituality, or business. Those are the 3 things that are going to get you to where you need to be.
Yep, that's right. That is absolutely true. I also love that you mentioned the idea of, you had 3 failed businesses. So, hey, why don't I start a podcast and get some advice from the experts? Yeah. Brilliant. I mean, that's what people can do, right? It's like, what are you struggling at? What's difficult? How can you get out of that rut? Like you could start a podcast and you can find those people. You could start an Instagram channel and interview those people, whatever you want. Like it goes back to the question of what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Right?
No, it's
and
true.
What you wanted was business advice. And how were you going to get experts to talk to you and give you the free advice of their knowledge? Start a podcast.
It's 100% true. I mean, podcasting is, and I'm sure with this show, Julie, it's the greatest networking opportunity you could possibly have. Like, I am literally friends with people that I have no right being friends with, right? Like, I'm friends with billionaires and celebrities and all these people who've spoken at my events, and they do it for free because I've been able to really build those relationships. That wasn't totally on purpose. Like, it kind of started to happen organically, but then I was like, wait a second, this is a tool for me to connect with whoever I want in the world. Now, there are people that are still on my wish list, of course, that I haven't gotten to, but we get closer and closer.
Good. We should always have a wish list, right? We should always be striving for more because that's what keeps us going.
Yeah, that's it. But we're getting there, right? We're plugging away. We're all on the same journey. We're just
When is your next event?
My next event's actually a year away. So it's May of 2022. Finally, some live events that are opening up. And we're super excited for that to happen. The Growth Now Summit Live is what it's called. And it's going to be in Lidditz, Pennsylvania. I rented out this incredible venue called Rock Lidditz. And I'm just really, really excited to bring people together and grow. And the first event that we did was in 2019. We had people from 15 states in Canada. We're already halfway sold out for this one. And people are coming from 20 states in Canada already, as long as the borders open up. And we'll be good to go. So I'm really excited about that next year.
That is really exciting. And what can you give us a glimpse of what happens at that summit?
Yeah, so I like to say that it's a day-long rock concert for entrepreneurs, forward thinkers, and people looking to level up in the 4 pillars of their life. And so really it is set up like a rock concert. Like the first year, it'll be different. This year, I don't give it all away. But the first year I had dancers dance the speakers up to the stage. And, we were having a good time. The after party, the VIP party. This year, we're doing a couple workshops and breakouts where you can learn from really some of the top experts in the world in writing your book and copywriting and all the other things. And it's just a ton of fun. And I believe that the real power in this lifetime is relationships.
Absolutely.
And so what I do is I take speakers and what I call movement makers, and I bring them on into the event. But the neat part about my event is they don't just disappear after they get off the stage. They literally hang out, they connect, they grow, and I just see magic happen throughout the event. And so, like I said, it's the thing that I'm super passionate about, and I'm excited to do it again.
Incredible. Love that. So it is 2022. You said May?
Yeah, May 13th to 15th.
Okay, so it's a 3-day event.
It is. It's a huge undertaking, which is why it's a year out. I literally just announced it last week.
Congratulations.
No, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Website to find more information on that.
Yeah, actually, if they go to growthnowsummit.com, we have some of the speakers announced already. We'll slowly leak out speakers as we get closer. But now's the time to buy tickets because it's early bird pricing right now. And come join us and hang out and have a good time.
Really awesome. Trying to get that up there on the screen for you. And you also have an Instagram page, your podcast, you interview people. How often?
Once a week. So every single Tuesday at 3 a.m. Eastern, there's a new episode that releases. Like this week was Diamond Dallas Page, who's a WWE Hall of Famer. We've had a couple of reality stars on recently, and it's been a ton of fun. Like I said, I show up every single week on a Tuesday because consistency is key in podcasting. Yeah. If you don't show up, I always say if I don't show up for my audience, they're going to go find something else to listen to, and that person's probably better than me. So I'm just going to keep showing up so they can't turn away.
Yeah. I love it. I love that, you really stand for relationship building. I think it's key in life. And when you do that work, you connect with everyone. As you say, you connect with all kinds of people in the world. And the relationships are what we have at the end of every day, right?
Yeah. Amen. For sure.
Yeah. Justin, so good to be with you. Excited for all that you're doing. Can't wait for your summit. Going to be rocking. We'll be back.
Yeah, honored that you had me on. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be back with you. Hello, Shelley.
Hello, Julie. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Morning cup of faith. I forgot to bring my morning cup of faith over here.
Where's our coffee?
How did it
I think we connected because I know you're all about the books, and we had podcaster Zibby Owens, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books, one of my favorite episodes. And so you and I have this wonderful book thing going on.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But I just love your, Instagram handle, Morning Cup of Faith. And it's a podcast as well. So tell us though, how it came to be Morning Cup of Faith. I mean, it started out not as a podcast. It started out as a
right? I think that's why people really respond to it, because it started off in a very authentic way. Morning Cup of Faith, we say it's a weekly grind up of coffee because my partner, Brenda Epperson Moore, and I are both huge coffee achievers. So it's about coffee, inspiration.
Achiever? What is coffee achiever?
We're a coffee achiever. So we talk a lot about coffee, inspiration, all things pop culture and faith. And we actually we had a prayer group, Brenda and I, and a group of 10 wonderful ladies. And, last March when we went in lockdown, it was really terrifying, all the footage from New York and Italy. And so our prayer group just really came alive, and we were sharing our hearts. And then, of course, we all had to start doing it, via Zoom because everyone was sheltering at home. And so we started making these videos that were really powerful. And of course, I'm a guest writer for HuffPost, and my partner, Brenda Epperson-Moore, is an actress, singer, speaker. So we both have media backgrounds, but we were new to the podcast world. But it was almost like God tapped us both on the shoulder at different times saying, you guys should do a podcast. And so we started talking about it. So Brenda and I said, well, we'll just do 3 episodes and see what happens. And I'm telling you, we got invited to be on Amazon Music. And one day I looked at the Instagram insights and over 50 countries were listening to us. We joke that God is on the move and we're just hanging on for the ride. So we launched last July, and we've just been hitting the ground running because I think it's the right project at the right time, because last year so many people were discouraged and scared and anxious, and we are all about inspiration and encouragement and lifting people up and just very positive. And we have wonderful guests. Like we just had Kim Douglas from the Ellen Show and Home and Channel. And she has gone through an inspiring breast cancer journey filled with faith. It's so funny. So it's guests like her. We also had CeCe Winans, who's won 12 Grammys for R&B and gospel. Now, that woman, that episode was like a prayer. She hasn't recorded it in 10 years, and she just came out with a new album, Believe for It. So those are 2 very inspirational episodes that come to mind immediately. And of course, Zibby Owens, who we just talked about, she's a major book influencer in New York. They call her the Oprah of books in New York.
I love it.
Yeah, like Justin was saying that it's an amazing conduit, these podcasts, just connecting. Of course, a lot of people are at home now and working remotely. So it's a great way for everyone to connect.
Did you always imagine that you would be doing a podcast one day?
It's funny. With all my journalism, writing and things like that are very natural to me. But a podcast is definitely a new medium, but it's really exciting. I can't believe all the growth in the podcast world. They say it's the most intimate form of communication because, it's one thing reading someone's book, which is great, but when you're listening to them every week and finding about their family and their friends, what they're doing, you just really get hooked and you really get to know that person. So they make a joke, if you listen to one podcast, it's like reality shows, you'll have to watch at least 3. So I'm addicted to the podcast.
And what are some of your favorite podcasts?
Well, I love writing. So I love the Right Minded podcast with Brooke Warner. One of my first ones I loved, it's not on anymore, but you probably know the author Cheryl Strayed, one of my favorites. She would be a dream guest. Are you listening, Cheryl? She had a podcast called Dear Sugars with Steve Almond. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, I was all in. Like, the minute that new episode was released, I was listening. Of course, she's very magical.
You were listening to podcasts years before you started.
It's true, because you know what? I'm a writer and a podcaster. So when I take a break, I love to walk. That's where I get my inspiration. So what better to do? It's catch up on your episodes while you're walking.
Yeah. Yes. So it came really natural to you. Like when you were in the prayer group and COVID was right in front of us. And you were like, did the name just come to you? Morning Cup of Faith?
Well, Morning Cup of Faith was the name of our prayer group. So, and I came up with the name. So it was like, okay. And people are like, I love that name. You know, the one thing about encouragement, Julie, is that we need it every day. Just because we were feeling positive and encouraged yesterday doesn't mean that today doesn't have a new set of problems.
And we easily forget, right? Otherwise we'd be so much more advanced.
Yes. So, and I find right now with, of course, May has been Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think last year, a lot of people are struggling. So I feel like we're putting out a positive message. And when we get those reviews, oh gosh, this is just what I needed today, or someone in Germany responds, oh my gosh, this is what I was looking for, then that, it gives me confirmation from the universe that we should keep going.
Absolutely. I love that your passion came from praying and your prayer
Yes.
group name became the podcast right in the middle of the pandemic and has soared ever since. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think we had a joke, God is on the move and we're just hanging on for the ride.
I love that. That is
And
a
we
great
just pray
quote.
every day, just keep opening doors, keep encouraging people.
Yeah.
Like you just don't know what's coming tomorrow,
Right.
but for today, we're going to go into the studio and encourage people and lift people up.
Absolutely. Love it. We are going to bring back all the guests to talk a little bit more. All of you are fabulous. Love what you're doing to just create conversation in the universe and open people's minds to all of the possibilities out there, to give people hope at a time when we absolutely need hope and positivity. I'd like to ask you three, for somebody who's listening who wants to start a podcast, what's your best advice to them? Shelley, we'll start with you and then go to Neena and end with Justin.
I have to tell you, I started off with a marketing company. I'm going to give a little shout out to Becky Harrington, Herrington. She has Elan, ELAN Strategy Group. She's based out of Oregon, I believe. We couldn't have done it without her. She had this whole 6-week thing. This is your coming up with the idea and what is your message, and she even recorded a little bit with us as a practice. A lot of times too, if you're technophobic and having a good sound engineer, because I'm not the one who's going to be uploading everything.
Right, exactly.
I would say, be clear. Yeah. There's a lot of podcasts out there. Be clear on what you want to say, what your message is. Yeah. And, I thought it was really helpful to work with a marketing company just to kind of get you set up so you can launch and be ready, have 3 episodes in the can. Right.
Excellent. And she's a marketing consultant specific for podcasters.
I think she does a lot of branding and a lot of things. I just dealt with her on the podcast level, but I think Becky can do all things. She's a magician.
Incredible. Thank you. Neena Perez.
It's going to be funny because I'm shouting him out again. Justin Schenck. Justin has this the purpose-driven podcaster masterclass that I took. That was freaking awesome. And that actually helped me a lot because when I did launch, it was a monologue. It was just me. And what happened is you kind of burn out a little bit because you run out of things to talk about, the topics, and stuff. It gets a little challenging. So this year I had shifted my mindset and started doing a more interview format. And so when I took the purpose-driven podcaster class, which Justin probably could shout out himself when he comes on, it helped me a lot to kind of niche down what I wanted to do, who I wanted to talk to. It made me a little bit more picky about who was going to be on my show. And that actually helped a lot because that's what actually is catapulting my numbers on my show, and my downloads is growing. And it's because once you get really specific, as Shelley said, when you know what you're going to talk about, when you have a few already in the queue ready to go, you start to get momentum on what you're doing instead of just any topic, anytime, so once you grab that niche and you can learn like what your colors look like, what your logo looks like, do you stand out in the podcast, when you are looking for different podcasts to listen to, like all that kind of stuff. So that was actually really awesome. And I really highly recommend that class. So I'm going to let Justin take that one on because that is that is his class, but I'm actually saying it because I really do mean it. It is a fantastic class, and it just showed me a lot. So, and that's
great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Go ahead, Justin.
Tell us about it.
I think she did a great job. She did a wonderful job. No, but seriously, what ended up happening with my career is my podcast took off and people started asking me, how do I do this? And then I actually I started working with like high-end, multiple 7-figure entrepreneurs, influencers, some celebrities, and I've helped them with their show. And to make it something that's affordable for everybody, I created a course. And this is something that I put off for years. And Neena was part of the launch of the course, which I'm honored that she was. But honestly, here's the thing about podcasting. She really hit on the head by saying, look, you really have to niche down. You have to understand, and then what I mean by that is you have to really understand who you're talking to,
Right.
because otherwise you're just shouting and nobody's listening, right?
Yes.
But yes, there are millions of podcasts, but if we were to really narrow it down, there's only 420,000 active podcasts compared to millions and millions and millions of
Only
YouTube channels.
420,000.
Right. Well, yes,
That's a lot of
but
podcasts.
but compared to YouTube channels or compared to Facebook groups or compared to whatever, it's a very small amount, but so many are clumped into a specific realm, right? Like I do self-help, which is a very broad spectrum. And I usually tell people don't do that, but it worked for me because I started 5.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So number one is niche down. Number two is launch the right way. And the tip that I can tell you with launching the right way is you want to launch day one with or your relaunch, whichever way you're looking at it, with at least 5 episodes. And the reason you do that is because podcast listeners are, number one, creatures of habit, which is why consistency is key. And number two, they're binge listeners. So you want to give them the Netflix effect of like, hey, I have multiple episodes for you to listen to day one, and then I'm going to give you more every single week. So keep showing up. But if you just give them one, it's not enough for them to click the subscribe button and wait around for the next one. So give them a taste, give them a big taste of 5, 6, 7 episodes, and go from there.
And marketing these episodes are a whole nother beast. And maybe Justin wants to talk about that, because it's wonderful to have these episodes, but, Instagram and Twitter to announce the episodes, like there's a whole
social media forever.
Learning curve. Marketing the episodes are huge.
Yes. Yeah. And we would love to talk about that, but our show is ending now. And thank you so much for being on. We will have you on again to talk about marketing, because everyone wants their own podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, get on
that
podcaster.
Nice to meet you, Justin and Neena.
Everyone,
thank you.
Nice to meet you. Where passion meets purpose. We will see you next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Bye-bye.